overview of Hadoop, and we discussed about the map and reduce and HDFS file system and the daemons related to HDFS file system and the Hadoop MR file system. One of the advantages of the new version is audio connection restored. Okay, what happened? See, am I audible to you all? Hello, hello, hello. Yeah, good, good, good. So then it is fine, because I got a message like, audio connection lost. Fine. So what we will do is, yesterday we discussed about a map reduce, right? One second, let me open that. I uploaded all these PowerPoint everything, okay, and see that at this moment this is more than sufficient, okay, to crack the interview point of view, right? To say that you have knowledge in Hadoop, this is sufficient, but you cannot say you are expert in Hadoop, right? With this, this one will help you to say, right, you are having a knowledge in Hadoop and working knowledge. We can say, you can say, no, you are you have some working knowledge in Hadoop, but not so expert. We can do, but don't tell everything explicitly. You tell them you have a knowledge in Hadoop. You schedule certain jobs, and you you have used ecosystem components like Scoop, Hive, Pig, and also you used Spark also. But still, you wanted to work on the cutting edge space of the machine learning, deep learning. That is how you project yourself during the time of interview. Okay. And now, so 1 second. Let me just connect to my system. Let me see if that one is good. Shell in a box. Okay, this is good. See, the system is hanging. Whenever I go there, it is hanging. And also in the real-time scenario, you're not supposed to use the IP address and all. Okay, anyhow they give IP address. You have something called ETCOs. Okay, in the ETCOs you need to put this IP address. Along with it, you can specify the server name. Right. First one is the server name colon the port number. Right. And try to spend time in exploring or working on the Linux system. Okay. A lot of YouTube videos are, it's not like those days, right? 3 years back, not many videos, not many blogs were there. Now I know lots and lots of resources are there, and try to watch some videos, YouTube videos related to the Hadoop, the Linux commands, right? Shell commands, basic commands. Okay, and just look at it. Don't take don't spend too much of time. Understand the basic commands, right? Especially the commands whatever I'm using it, right? HDFS, DFS hyphen mkda or ls hyphen r, and put command and get command. Put is to upload the file from the Linux file system to the Hadoop file system, right? How to download the data file from Hadoop file system to Linux file system, all these things, right? You just take a look at it. Anyhow, I think if you look at my PowerPoint, I put it there. I will upload one more PDF file, right? It has exhaustive commands in it, right? You just look at it. That can help you to understand it. and also do some googling, because since you have system problem, right, you cannot explore everything by practicing on the system, right. You need to have the system to practice it, but you just give it a try in installing it, right. The downloading and installing it, it should work. One second here, let me just, I thought of giving a quick overview. See, that's what Hadoop provides fault tolerancy, and also other aspects of other salient features of Hadoop is it provides high availability, which is nothing but because of for automatic failover. Since Hadoop has the automatic failover option in version 2 onwards, Hadoop version 2 onwards, the high availability is possible now. What is high availability? The data is available most of the time. That is very, very critical. So supposing you are ordering a product in Amazon, right, by the time you made the payment, suddenly if the connection breaks, what will happen? Or by the time you are about to make the payment, if the connection breaks, what will happen? You will try one more time, and then try one more time. You will lose patience because you need to rush to office, or you have piled up with a lot of deliverables. In that case, what you do is you will go to some other website, and if you find the same product, you will order it, right. So the availability is very much important. So Hadoop provides high availability and fault tolerancy, right. In case of any one data node fails, still the copy of the data node, the copy of the blocks for that specific node is available in the other surviving node. That is called fault tolerancy. The next one is this one, distributed storage and distributed computation. Version 2 onwards, you can not only submit the MR related jobs, non-MR related like graph processing. If you want to graph processing and non-MR related job also, you can run it on top of Hadoop version 2 onwards. See, as of version 1, you can run only MR jobs, MapReduce job, okay, and right, a MapReduce job only you can run it. So apart from MapReduce, if for example if you want to run the graph processing, right, graph processing or graph database related job, if you write it and if you try to run it against the Hadoop cluster, it will not run. Only MapReduce was possible with as of version 1 of Hadoop, and still I could see that even today couple of guys, they called me for something, and when I spoke to them, I understood they are customers still they are using version 1. I'm very much surprised why, how come they are using older version, because end of the day in the production they expect the data is very important. The version is not important for them. The data is very important. Availability is very important. The system should be stable. Just because new version comes, they don't want to disturb it. Fine. So that is also the reason why, right? Right. So that is the one they do it. But for the interview purpose, yes, you should be knowing it, right? So in the version 2, you can run non-MR related jobs also. What is MR? MapReduce. It's a programming paradigm, right? It's a programming paradigm. MR is the programming paradigm. Apart from MR, non-MR related jobs also you can run on top of Hadoop, especially on version 2 onwards. Okay, and what are the other things what are the other features? Yeah, high availability and horizontal scalability. Hadoop provides horizontal scalability, right? That is also one of the salient features of the Hadoop. Okay, and again, you cannot use Hadoop for everything. Suppose you want to do some kind of batch processing, it is very good Hadoop. Okay, and if you wanted to process any real-time data synchronization, or if you want to perform real-time analysis, or if you want to perform near real-time analysis, Hadoop is not that good. That is where the Spark is coming into picture. Again, Spark also you cannot use it for everything, right? For different purpose, we are supposed to use different ecosystem components or softwares. In the case of iterative programming, you can go for Spark. When I discuss about Spark architecture, I will discuss everything in detail. So as of now, whatever I covered, if you are aware of this, that is more than sufficient. Okay, but still, if they ask you too much of thing in architecture level, you can tell them, I am a core developer. I'm not so good in administration. You can tell them that way. Okay, but if you go for architect level profile, yes, you should be knowing that one also. But still, architect need not to know the admin side also. At least you should be knowing the high level, right? How when you submit the job, what is happening behind the scene. At least you should be able to articulate very clearly. Fine. So we discussed about the version 1, the job tracker, task tracker, and also as part of resource manager, the YARN architecture. We discussed about the resource manager, right? They developed something called, they introduced something called resource manager. Using resource manager, they are able to address the bottleneck posed by the job tracker in the case of version 1. They introduced something called resource manager, and now as part of resource manager, two components. One is application manager, other one is scheduler, and scheduler, and the nodes. Each nodes you have application master, and you have containers, and node managers are there, right? So this one we discussed it. Just review it once again. If you watch my video, that is fine, but anyhow I am going to update the document also. Give me some time. I will try to keep it everything. It should be like one stop shop. If you go to my study material, you should not go anywhere. Okay, I'll make it as comprehensive as possible, but give me some time. It will take some time. But as I discussed at the outset of this session, you don't have to have too much of knowledge in Hadoop. You just tell them you have a knowledge in Hadoop. That is more than sufficient, because you need to be very good at Java, and you should be. See, since Hadoop has developed in Java and C language, right? If you write any programming in Java, the performance will be faster. And if you know the ecosystem component, it is good. But still, I could see that few of the guys, while talking to me, right? While talking to them, the Cognizant, other place where they got placed, right? Even they say, right, they are working in some NoSQL database, not related to MR. Okay, that kind of job they are doing it. NoSQL, if you know, that can help you to project yourself in a much better manner during the interview process. Okay, fine. So we discussed about the map reduce, right? Each node, when you submit a job, each node, the map jobs will be running. The mapper method, or sorry, the mapper class will get executed for each and every row in your block, and the map produces the pair of key value as an output, intermediate output. Let's say you have 4 data node, and those data node is nothing but, let's say, your slave node, right? All these 4 nodes have the blocks in it, B1, B2, B3, B4, right? So when you submit a job, especially that job has to access all these 4 blocks in order to perform some analysis. In that case, the mapper job will run against each and every block. Okay, per block one each mapper job will run, right? So each block one mapper job will run, and it will run, the mapper job will get, the map method will get invoked for each and every row which are there in your block. Okay, and this map will produce the key value pairs as an output, intermediate key value pairs. It emits, each map method will emit the intermediate key value pairs. The maps are the individual tasks, right? It transforms the input record into intermediate records. The transformed intermediate records need not to be of the same type as the input record. Supposing your input type is the string and integer, and if you wanted to your output need not to be string and integer. It can be different. Whatever the input you give, the output cannot be same, need not to be same, right? It can be same, it need not to be same. Okay? So, and then once the mapper job store the intermediate records in the respective slave node, the next one is automatically the shuffle process will get started. The shuffle, what it does is the core role, the main role played by the shuffle process is to ship all the intermediate records produced by the mapper job in the slave nodes to the node where the reducer job is running. So he is a vehicle. The shuffle is kind of a vehicle. He goes and pick up the map output from all the nodes, and then he will give it to reduce node. Okay, the place where the reduce job is running. Okay, and right. So while picking up the intermediate records from each and every node, it sorts the data in alphabetic order. Right. If the key is if your key is string, it will be in alphabetic order. If the key is in number, it is in ascending order, something like that. Okay, it will sort the data in alphabetic order. In the case of your key is string and value is integer, and once the shuffle is done, right, as part of shuffle the sort is also happening, right, both of them are happening in parallel. As soon as while shipping the data from each and every mapper node to the reduce node, it simultaneously performs the sort on the intermediate records, and these data will be sorted data will be sent to your reduce node, right, the node where the reduce job is running. What reduce does, the reduce, right, the idea of reduce is to reduce a set of intermediate values that share a key to a smaller set of values. That is the whole objective of reduce. Or in the to make it very clear, what reduce does is it does the aggregation job. Most of the time, right, we use reduce job to perform the aggregation. Okay, that is what we do it. You can have more than one reduce job also, like mapper job, right? You can, but when you compare the reduce job with mapper job, you don't require many reduce job similar to your map job. At the maximum 2 or 3 will be using it. Supposing I'm using, see, in the real time scenario, right, I'm using 200 to 250 maps, and also the block size also 1 GB. Okay, so the default block size is 250 MB in Hadoop, but it can be configurable. The administrator, what they do, right, based on the volume of the data, they create the block size. For a let you know, I have sales file. The sales data is very huge, 25 million or 30 million is there. What they do is they increase the block size, like 1 GB. In some cases they kept the 1 GB also, right? So that the single block itself can have more number of records, so that you don't have to have multiple mappers to run here and there, right? And also you don't have to see, if you have if the block size is small, what will happen? If the block size is small, what will happen? You will end up having, if the file size is very big and if the number of if the block size is small, more number of blocks will get created, and these blocks will get distributed across various nodes. Let's supposing you have 200 nodes, right, and in a cluster, all the nodes the mapper job has to run. Right? So what they do, they'll come up with optimal, and don't ask me how do they do capacity planning, how do they come up with sizing. That is not our headache, that is admin's headache. Okay, they'll try to do that. So what you need to understand is what is the role of map and what is the role of reduce. What is shuffle? Shuffle is done behind the scene. It automatically gets kicked off, and it ships the intermediate records to the respective reducer using HTTP across the network. It uses the HTTP protocol and to ship the data to the respective reduce thing. Some cases, what we do, as I told you, right? So let's we have close to 60 mapper jobs were running, and each mapper job produces the output. In that case, what will happen is, right, we are using 5 to 10 reduce job. Okay, 5 to 10 reduce job. So the reducer will pick up this data. Again, you have something called partitioner concept is there, and you have something called combiner. Okay, using combiner, you have something called combiner class. I thought of giving demo everything, but it takes a lot of time here. Okay, in the Hadoop cluster. So we have something called combiner. I'll just explain you the idea. Probably you can tell at the time of interview, right, what is combiner, everything. See, now you got a fair amount of idea how to submit a job, right? One second, let me just show you. So here's something called combiner, and here's something called partitioner. Combiner, okay. Let's say you have 4 nodes, 5 nodes, okay. Let's say hypothetically in a cluster we have 5 nodes. Don't worry about master node and all, that is admin headache. Let's not worry about that, okay. What happens here, let's say I have B0 and B1 and B2, B3 is there, and B4 is there, okay. 4 blocks spawned across various the 4 blocks got distributed across these 5 nodes. Let's say forget about B4, B1, B0, B1, B2, B3, okay. So what happens on this block, right, the mapper 1 will run, and mapper 2 will run here, and mapper 3, and same program, don't think, mapper 1, map 2 different program, the same program will run against this block, and this one, this mapper, right, this mapper will produce some intermediate output, right. Let's say in the yesterday's example, right, you have something called Avil, and you have multiple records for Avil. You just did some kind of cleanup, and Avil 5, Avil 10, your this one does the shuffle, does the sorting, everything, and you have something called Dolo and Metascene, something like that, okay. Likewise, you have detailed records here, right. You just did some kind of cleaning, you just discarded the columns that were not relevant to you, right. So overall we had 4 or 5 columns, right, in that. So what we did, we are interested in only these 2 columns, okay. Again, we are interested in these 2 columns, right. So what we are doing, each and every map, we just filtered, discarded the columns that were not relevant to us, and probably you do some kind of data cleaning, something like that, and finally the detailed records are there coming as detailed records were produced as an intermediate output by this map process. Each and every map process produce the intermediate records. So we have something called combiner concept. So here you have, let's say your reducer job is running, right. So these output, let's say here you have 1 million record, here you have 1 million record, you have 2 million, and you have 3 million records. 3 million, 2 million, 5 million, 6 million, 7 million. 7 million records have to be sent to reducer. Right? If you send 7 million records through the the Ethernet cord, right? What will happen? See, in the case of real-time scenario, they use fiber optic cable and all. The performance will be much faster, but still the volume of the data is very huge, right? Like let's say per day 1,000 jobs are running. What will happen? It will consume too much of system resources, right? So what you do is, that's where they introduce something called combiner. What you do is, instead of doing the aggregation by taking all the data and doing it with one reducer, do the the aggregation in the respective node itself. This is the map output. It's this key value pair is also my map output. So here itself you do some kind of Avil and Dolo 650, and here's something else called, what is that here, Metascene, right? Though you have multiple records, you do this total, you find out the total sale for each and every medication. Here is the consolidated total, right? I will, let's say 25, this is 15, this is 8, right? Here itself you perform the aggregation, and once you perform the aggregation, how many number of records are the unique records? Only 3, right? Let's see, where we have, irrespective of the volume of the data, here we have 1 million record, but it boils down to only 3 records after aggregation, right? So that is where the combiner, using combiner, you can perform the aggregation in the respective mapper node itself. Similarly, you perform the aggregation. So now I have 4 nodes, and 4 nodes, by implementing the combiner process, right, what will happen? 4 into 3, 12 records. Instead of sending 7 million records, right, I just send only 12 records. I'll just ship only 12 records to my reducer. So my reducer, again, it does some kind of grouping, because here Avil 25 is there, but here Avil 50 will be there, right? Final consolidation has to be done by the reducer. So 25, the 25, and let's say here 15, 30, 40, and here 10, 50, and here 50, 100. Final consolidation, by taking all the 12 records, the final consolidation will be done by the reducer. Right? So each and every node itself, the combiner, what it does is, again we need to write program. Okay, you need like a map class and reduce class, right? We created a map class, we created a reduce class, and we have a driver class, which is nothing but the main method. Using main method, we just define what is the input. See, for this, right, in the case of from our point of view, we are submitting a job, right? My job is COVID COVID RX MR. This is my job, right? This is my jar file. I need to tell the input file, and I need to tell the output file, right? I need to tell the input file and output, which file you are supposed to process it. So let's say this file is sales, right? Sales, what will happen is the sales will the sales data got splitted as B0, B1, B2, B3 in my node, slave nodes, right? And what happens, my MR job, right? This is my MR job, but it goes and kick off the map job against each and every block, and the map job in turn produce the intermediate output. And along with this, if you introduce, right, along with map and reduce, you have something called a combiner class. So you can introduce combiner class. When you introduce combiner class, what it does is it performs the node wise aggregation on the map outputs. Once this has been done, these values will be sent to your reducer. Okay, so this way you can tell them, right? So certain jobs we did some kind of optimization by introducing combiner. By introducing a combiner, you could see a tremendous improvement in my in the job. So in your resume, you need to specify your accomplishment, right? What you do is each and every project, project 1 and project 2 and project 3 and project 4. Project 1, as what we did. So we fine-tuned few batch jobs, fine-tuned 5 batch jobs, and reduced the ETL cycle time by 20% or 30%. You need to quantify, you need to specify like this in your profile, so that when the customer see your profile, they will be very much interested in having discussion with you, and then only they will think your profile is worthwhile to call you for an interview. So, and then when they see this one, right, they'll ask you, how did you increase this by 10? Don't put 100% and all, okay, 30% or 25%, something you put it. So they'll ask you, you tell them by introducing combiner, you're able to. And we have something called partitioner. We have something called partitioner class. So supposing you have more than one reducer, right? This is reducer 1 and reducer 2, right? Reducer 2. Reducer 1 and reducer 2. So what will happen is the partitioner class, when you introduce partitioner, what it does is it'll migrate all the intermediate output to the reducer. While migrating the data while migrating this, or while shipping the data from these intermediate outputs to your reducer, it makes sure that it sends the it splits the key, and it makes sure that it sends the relevant key to the relevant reducer. It sends the relevant key to the relevant reducer. Supposing in this case, right, it sends only to this reducer. All the avail related key value pair will be sent to reducer. And metazin, let's if this reducer is completely busy by working with avail and dolo, right, it is completely occupied, and so what it does is, right, it will send it to another reducer. You have metazin, let's say you have metazin, and you have something called COVID, some medicine, right? These two medicine will be sending, these two key value pair will be sent to this reducer only. It will not mix up avail here and avail here, right? So you will here already you have, in this reducer has to perform aggregation on 100 avail records and 200 dolo records, and metazin you have 1000, and this one, right, COVID you have 100, right? If you mix up avail here and 100 here, what will happen? It will get confused. So the partitioner, that is where it comes into picture. It takes the output and it makes sure that the partitioner's role is, it makes sure that the relevant key value pair is sent to the respective reducer. It will not mix up the key value pair from reducer 1 to reducer 2, right? Let's say here you are AVIL, and again it will not copy the AVIL here. If you have the similar items or similar key value pairs, if you send to the respective reducer, if you perform aggregation, it will be good. Let's say you have put AVIL here and you have put AVIL here. Again, you need to have another reducer, right, to split this one. That will be some confusion thing. So that is where the partitioner is coming into picture. Partitioner is very much important. Okay, partitioner also will be using it, and using partitioner, it will automatically send the relevant key value pair to the respective reducer. Right? It will not mix up the key value pairs across the reducer. So now we understood what is combiner. Combiner is performing the aggregation in the mapper node itself, right? You do this one, and then what you do is make sure that you are sending, using partitioner, you can sending the relevant the key value pair to the respective node. So you have something called combiner class and reducer class, right? So you can talk during the time of interview. Okay. So now we will take a quick look on the map reduce job which we discussed it, because you need some time, like our friend, he mentioned it very clearly, right? One epoch is not sufficient. What we will do is we will take a look at, this is the I don't want to open this one now, Eclipse, because it will system hangs. Right? This is what the map reduce job. This is what I ran it. I submitted on the Hadoop. So I converted this Java file, right? I converted the Java file as a jar file using Eclipse, and finally I submitted the jar file against the Hadoop server. Right? And we saw yesterday it took some time, and then it produced the output, right? So what was the output? So in the map class, we just did very simple. We just took a very simple case study. We have some drug data, right? Customer wise, whatever the medicine they purchased it, how many medicines they purchased it, that kind of data we had it. And so what we did here, see in this case, I have something called map method and reduce method, and this is called your driver class. It is also, see in this case, it is a main method. Okay. So actually what we can do is we can have three separate classes. One is for map, one is for reducer, another one is for the driver class. So what I did, instead of having three different classes, we will have it in a single script itself, right? So that initially you will not get confused with this, right? So that for understanding purposes I did this. So look here, this is the map function and reduce function, and the map, whatever the output produced by the map, that will be picked up by the reduce function, right? Reduce function. And you have something else called the driver function. This is where we will specify all the configuration. You just think that way. In the case of main method, we specify the configuration. Okay, configuration. Now look at here. What is IO exception here? What is IO exception? Look at here. So we have imported all the packages that are relevant to implement my map reduce program. Okay, so these are the packages that are required. But in the case of combiner, you have something called combiner will be there. Map reduce dot combiner. See, partitioner is there already, right? Partitioner. Though we did not use it, partitioner is there, and similarly combiner will be there, right? Using combiner, you can implement the logic in terms of aggregating the output at the mapper node itself. Okay? So this is the one is required. IO exception is required. The input file which we are passing as parameter is present, right? Is present or not, that is the one, it will take care of that. And apart from this, we have something called int writable and long writable. So we know very well, integer is the whole number, long is kind of a float variable, right? So what is this writable? Writable in the case of Hadoop, right? The writable is kind of a serialization. Okay, writable is kind of a serialization. We'll discuss about the writable. So you need to, at this moment, you just think for the data types, right? For all the data types, we need to suffix with writable except the string data type. In Hadoop, we don't have string data type. Instead, they instead of string type, text type is there. Text is nothing but string data type. Okay, so that is how you can think about it. And so we have something called the int writable, long writable, the text, right? So these are nothing but the input and output data types. The int, writable, which is similar to int in Java, and writable or Hadoop input data type. In Java, we say simple int, right, and a string. But here we say text. These are, Hadoop inbuilt data types. And we have mapper, which is an interface, okay. And okay, now we'll go back to this one. See, this is public class COVID RxMR. Here I declared our map application, right? So here I declared about the map application name, and we extend something called mapper. Look here, this is what, see here, so here I declared, see, my map application is this one, okay, map demo Hadoop, right? So this is my map application, and what I do is I extended something called mapper. So you remember, right? So you can see mapper, right? This is the one is available as part of jar. You remember yesterday in Eclipse, I attached the 3 jar files. Those 3 jar files have these the classes or interfaces in it. In this case, the mapper, right? Mapper is the one is already available. We are extending our map application by this mapper thing, okay, mapper. So this mapper class defines the map job, right? Maps, the maps are the input key value pairs to a set of intermediate key value pairs. That is what I discussed it. So in this case, right, this mapper class, we have map method. See, map method is, see, in the case of Java, right, instead of saying function, they say method, right, method. You just think, it is a function, okay. Those of you do not know Java, right, you just think this is, a method is a function, okay. And the first one is long writable. This is my input, and the text is similar to a string, right. The output, right, here, the output is text here, and integer, right. Here the input is long, and here itself I mentioned, see, in the mapper we have to specify all the 4 data types. These 2 are related to input and these 2 are related to output, right. So the long writable is my input, and text is similar to string. The output drag, so in this case, right, the key value pair is a drag and the how many number of drugs they purchased in each and every tablet, right. So output drug is text, and the value is nothing but int writable. So Hadoop provides something called the input. The Hadoop provides inbuilt serialization, deserialization mechanism using the writable interface. You might be wondering what the hell this writable. Why can't they have similar to Java like hint and string, and why do they introduce writable along with int, right? So this writable is, see, the Hadoop, right, they want to provide the inbuilt serialization deserialization mechanism using the writable interface. So what is serialization deserialization? See, the writable classes, converting the structure stream of bytes. Stream of bytes, right? Stream of bytes. Why do they have to convert to stream of bytes? Any idea?
Security purpose.
Security purpose, excellent, right? The writable classes are serialized more compactly than the Java serialization. Compared to Java, right, these are serialized more compactly than Java serialization. Security purpose they do it, because in the case of Hadoop, right, when you look at the production system, maybe 1,000 nodes are running, right? Maybe they have 1,000 nodes. The data will get splitted here and there, right? Anybody can in between one node to another node when the data get transferred or something like that, right? So what will happen is during the time of distributing the blocks from one node to another node, right, in a matter of fraction of second, they can hack the data, right? For security purpose, what they did, they do some kind of serialization, okay, so that it cannot be hacked, because in the Hadoop system the data will get migrate from one place to another place. Supposing you are using scope to export the data and import the data, right, you will be importing the data from MySQL table into your Hadoop file system. Anybody can hack during the course of the data being fetched, and before even writing on top of the Hadoop system. Anyway, that is the reason for security purpose they have implemented the serialization and derealization mechanisms using the writable interface. Okay. Right, so the next one is, see, this is my input value. You just think about my data file. So where is my data file? My data file is data 10, right? So this is the one. Yeah, system hangs like hell. So this is the one, my data, right? This is the data, I have it. So in this case, what is the input and what is the output? I wanted to produce it, right? I need to tell this very clearly. I'm interested in taking AVIL and this one. This is this text data type. This is my int writable, right? This is not the long writable. This is the int writable. The input and output is also the same thing, but it need not to be same. But in this case, it is same. Okay, in this case, it is same. That is the reason why we mentioned it here, right? The input and output. Sorry, this is so in this case. Sorry, in this case, the input is long writable, right? Long writable, and the output is the input, key and value. The key and value is in the case of map, right? So map, long writable key and value. Sorry, here, right? So this is what the text. And but now let us look at this one. We are very particular to map. So here long writable is the key and text is the value, and this is the one we are passing it. This is IO. This throws IO exception. In case of any exception, right, it will throw it. And the next one is, what we are doing is we are converting the entire line into text. We are converting the entire line of this data into record, right? The entire record into text. Why we are converting this as a text? Yesterday I discussed, right? So what happens here? It converts the entire line into string data type, and then it stores into a string variable called line. Okay, and then what I do is I'll split this data based on the comma separator. Each and every record I know, because using which you can separate the columns, right? And then what I do is I store these separated words or strings into the elements. And the next one is the elements 2, right? So then the elements 2 is my AVIL, right? So this one I put it in a string data type again, and then what I do is the next one is the integer value, right? The amount, how many number of items we sold, that one. So here int, pass int, and this is the text. Now what we are doing is using the context object, right? Using the context object, we are writing the output of the key value pair to the Hadoop system, right? So basically the context object here mentioned, the context, it is an object. It allows the map reducer to interact with the Hadoop system, right? So in this case, we are storing the record as string in a variable. See, in this case, right, we are storing the record in the entire record in the string. And what we are doing is we are taking the relevant key value pair which we are interested, and then we are converting back the text into number, because this one is supposed to be numeric value, right? The number of items which we sold. And finally, using context object, we are writing the key value pair output to the respective node. And the next one is the reduce class. See, the reducer class, right, that is the one defines the reducer job in MapReduce. It reduces a set of intermediate values that share a key to a small set of values. Okay, the declaration of the reduce is also same as the mapper. So in this case also, right, so in this case what happens, right, the declaration of the reduce, right, is also same as the mapper thing, and it extends the reduce Sass can and implement an interface called reducer, right, called reducer. This takes the inputs, right, and it takes the input of your mapper output, and then it emits the output. So here my input is nothing but the output of the mapper. So here already I emitted the key and value pair. In this case the key is string text, right? So the output of this one is an input of this one. So this one is also text, and this one is int, and the next one is text. And so this is the output, right? This is my input. In the case of reduce, the input is the output of the mapper output, and then what is the data type of my output produced in reducer also, right? That also you need to specify it. You need to pass it here. So the next one is right here we have the reduce method. The reduce method, see, text and int writable. So here I mentioned about iterable. Iterable means it is iterable, this value, okay? So what happens for each and every key, find out for each and every key, find out or sum the values. For each and every key, sum the values. Supposing Avil has 4 records, right? Sum all the 4 records values for Avil, and Metazine, if you have 2 records, sum the values, right? Perform aggregation, and finally the context, using context object, we are writing the key value pair, the final key value pair, the aggregated values, right? The key and value pair, we are writing it to Hadoop system. The next one is the this one, the main method, right? So this is the one accepts a string. It accepts as a string of arguments as my input and throws an exception when something goes wrong. Okay, here it accepts only 2 arguments. So look here, I put not equal to 2, right? Here it accepts only 2 arguments in this case. If it is not equal to 2, right? So then it will throw an error, right? It will throw an exception or some error here. And then what happens here, we are setting an object called conf, right? Conf, we are instantiating the configuration, and here we have something called set. Here we are specifying where my job tracker or resource manager runs, right? You can specify it, or you don't have to specify it, right? So you don't have to specify this also. And the next one is, what we are doing is we are specifying the job name. What is my job name? You need to give some job name, right? Drug amount spent, that is what my job name. And this is mandatory, okay? Set jar by class. We generated jar yesterday, right? That jar name you need to spell, but you need to know the extension is supposed to be dot class COVID jar. And the next one is, these are very simple thing, okay? So this is nothing but what is the output key value. See, key and value will be produced, right? What is the output pair of the key value? What is the data type of the output key value? Key value pair, okay? So in the case of output key, supposed to be text, output value also integer, and in this case the map output key supposed to be string, and the value, right? Map output key class and value. So the key and value supposed to be string and integer, the map output, right? And the output key class, this is also, right? What is the output key? This is what is the output key class for text, and this is for reducer, output key type in reducer, okay? Output key value in reducer. You need to specify the data type for the key and value in the case of both map and reducer. That is what we did it. That is the configuration I did it here. And here's something called set mapper class, set reducer class. You need to specify your mapper class. My mapper class is map demo Hadoop. My reduce class is reduce Sasken. You need to specify that also, but the extension is supposed to be dot class. And set num reduce task. How many number of reducers that you needed? Here I mentioned 1, okay? Number of reduce tasks, and you can specify more than 1 reduce task if you want. You can specify 2 also here. You can configure it here, okay? And next one is input format class. What is input format class and what is output format class? My input, okay, in this case the text input format text. So what kind of file you are using it? Is it a JSON file or is this a text file? Since this is a text file, right? Since this is a text file, I specified text input format class as an argument to set input format class. what kind of output you wanted to produce it, right? The output format is also text output. And the next one is the file input format, file output format. Okay. In this case, yeah, so in this case, output format, this is what we use it while submitting the job. Remember, so at the end, right, in the Hadoop cluster, I specified Hadoop jar and then my jar file, COVID x rxmr rxmr dot jar, and then input path. This is where my data file, input file was there, input map data, and then here out map. So this one supposed to be non-existing folder, okay, and this one will be created automatically. Okay, you don't have to create, this should not be pre-existing one. Okay, all you need to specify is the input folder where you kept this file, this data file, right, the data type. That's it. In which folder is having that file, you can probably specify the file name also, right, you can specify the file name. So what happens is it takes the two argument, right, it takes the two argument, and then what happens, right, with that it produces the output. Job wait for completion true, that means it will start it will kick off your job map and reduce everything, and it will produce the output. The output will be written based on the output path which you mentioned. You can specify whichever target output name you wanted, you can use it here, but this one supposed to be non-existing. If you specify the existing directory name, the job will fail. It will say the folder already exists, it will throw an error. Okay, so this is what it says, input path and output path. Input path, which path the input file is there, and which path should I specify the should I produce the output of the key, this one, right, the map and reduce output, where, sorry, the reduce output, where should I store it? That is what it is asking it. So now you understood, right, how to implement map reduce using with this template, right, this kind of a template. And also, if you are very particular about to taking a deep dive in this one, anyhow, nowadays we have started using, especially in the case of data science, right, we do a lot of data analysis and all the things. In that case, we are working on the Spark only. Let me see if that works. No, I thought of showing that link, the website. I think I closed it. See, you have something like that, apache.hadoop.apache.org. Okay, docs. You go to this website if you want to see, what is the if you want to get more help on this mapper class, right? You just take a deep dive, and they have given some examples also. So you might be asking, sir, how do I know? You say if you want to write a map reduce job, right? How do I know which argument should pass? And see here, map is there, long writable is there, extends is there, how do I know all the syntax, everything? You can go and check it here. Okay, this is the one, is very much helpful. And with the my file, right, with my Java file, you just take a look at and compare with that, you will get a fair amount of idea. And also in the internet, a lot of resources are there. You can spend time in creating a job and submitting against the Hadoop system, right? You can do it. See the link I sent, the website link, or probably I will send it in the WhatsApp also. Right. So the next one we will quickly jump into. We are already, it is 9:35. We will quickly jump into Scoop. Okay, and what is Scoop? Scoop, yesterday itself we discussed. Scoop is an Hadoop ecosystem component, right? It is designed to transfer data between Hadoop file system and the RDBMS database like MySQL, Oracle, and Teradata, Netezza, Postgres, right? From one database to, let's say you have a database like the Teradata or Oracle database is there, or MySQL database is there. You want to take the data, let's say the data are stored in the form of tables, right? In the case of database, let's say you have an employee table is there in your MySQL database. You want to do some kind of analysis, right? What you want to do is you want to take the employee table data and you want to store it in your Hadoop file system. Okay. and once you store it, that will be consumed by other people, right? The reporting people, they may do further analysis with the data what you copied there, right? What you imported there. The import is something like take the data from the table, RDBMS table, and store it in Hadoop file system. That is called import. The export is opposite. Supposing I have some requirement like in HDFS file system, we did some kind of data analysis. The output of the data is stored in HDFS. From HDFS file system, you export the data back to Hadoop table, sorry, the MySQL table, right? That is possible with Scoop. Even with Scoop, we can migrate the data from MySQL database to Hive. So don't think always the migration is possible only between these two RDBMS. You can do it with any RDBMS. But MySQL, to supposing you want to take the employee table from MySQL database and you want to push it to Hive database directly, it is possible. But there are some limitation. Good that I was about to break my head. Thank God. In the case of see Horton Sandbox, right? Sorry, in the Hortonworks website, they mention very clearly what they say, right? Better. So what they say here, right? Here, data transfer from RDBMS to Hive or HBase. Okay, it is supported in Scoop version. In Scoop also we have version 1, version 2. Right? In the case of this, that's what they mentioned the difference here very clearly. Okay, the connectors, you can use different connectors to connect to various database and to take the data and load it into Hadoop file system. So what here they say, right? Data transfer from MySQL to Hive. Right, RDBMS to RDBMS is also kind of, it's not a RDBMS, again database to database. If you want to push it, what you do is it is supported in version 1, version 2 it is not supported. Usually the higher version should should have more features, but it is opposite, not supported. What you do is import the data from RDBMS into HDFS. Let's say MySQL, I have a table called employee. I imported the table into HDFS file. I copied the file, right? The table from RDBMS to HDFS file system. And then what you do is load this HDFS file, right? Which is nothing but the employee table data to Hive. Do it that way. That is what he says, right? So you need to be a bit careful, right? Before you jump, explore everything, understand the difference, and also specific to the Hadoop cluster also. I don't know what kind of features they implemented it. You need to explore before. Otherwise, you will in the net you will see a lot of documents are there. Hey, he is importing the data from MySQL to Hive directly. And if you keep trying, it will error, you will break your head. You just check which features are supported. But this is pretty straightforward. But thing is, right, you need an intermediate storage. See, supposing I wanted to move the table or I want to copy the data from MySQL database to Hive database, right? Directly if I can do that, I don't need any intermediate storage. But here what happens, from MySQL you take the data and put it in a Hadoop file system. Again you take the data from Hadoop file system to Hive, right? So that is the painful thing. That is also the reason why, right? Hadoop is good for batch processing system most of the case, but now in version 2 and all you can run non-MR job also. Okay, one problem with Hadoop is it reads the data from file system and then it processes it and then it writes the output back to your Hadoop file system. Okay, let's see, it writes the intermediate data to your Hadoop file system. Sorry, I just changed my statement. It reads the data from Hadoop file system and writes the intermediate output into your Hadoop file system. Again, it reads the intermediate file from your Hadoop file system and then it does the further processing. We know, for example, in the case of machine learning, we know k-means clustering, right? It is an iterative algorithm, right? What is iterative algorithm? It is iteratively updating or assigning, it is iteratively computing the mean value and it iteratively assigning the observations to the nearest the mean value, right? Mean value. So that is, see what happens, each and every iteration, it has to compute the mean value for each and every cluster, and it has to assign the observations accordingly. As long as there are no more assignments are required, it needs to do that. So each and every iteration, it has to compute the mean value for the cluster, right? And then it has to assign the observations that are closer to the newly computed mean value, right? So the output values are not supposed to be written in the Hadoop file system. The output, intermediate output, will be stored in the memory itself. In the case of Spark, Shanmugam, okay. So that is the salient feature of Spark, okay. So if you store that is the reason why Hadoop is very good for real-time analytics, or storing the data, or performing the analysis in real time, near real time, right? It is much faster, especially these kind of use cases. If your use case is something like something like, let's say you want to implement k-means clustering, the intermediate outputs are stored in the memory itself. You need not to go to the disk and read the data. You just keep this in mind, freshers, okay. Any operation, if you perform any task which results in reading the data from the hard disk, it takes a lot of time. See, first time, yes, obviously, even in the case of Spark, it has to read the data from your Hadoop file system only, okay. But in the case of processing, each iteration, the mean value keep changes. The assignment also keep changes based on the nearest mean value, right? Keep changes. The output will be stored in the memory only. That is the reason why Spark is much faster. So now we will try to understand, okay. So why should I use Scoop, right? So see, now the data is residing in relational RDBMS data that needs to be transferred to HDFS, right? The task of writing MapReduce code for importing exploited data from the relational database to Hadoop file system, right, is quite tedious. This is where Scoop comes into picture, or Scoop comes to our rescue, and it eliminates our pain in terms of writing the MapReduce program. Again, you should write a Java program. And again, Java program, right, you know very well, even to implement a simple logic, you know to write, lines and lines of code. You don't have to write a MapReduce program. Simply use the command line interface. There you specify the source table and the target location. It will automatically, import the data to the target location. That's it. But don't think, if you don't write MR program, right? See, behind the scene, even if you let me open the Scoop PDF. Now this is what, right? Yeah. See what happens. Let's see. This is the command. See, most of the time, sometimes what will happen, to understand the concept, if you look at in a more, if you explore it in a more codified manner, right, you will be able to understand quickly. So look here, Scoop. This is my utility, command line utility. In the Linux command, right, command prompt, specify Scoop. And if you want to export. If you want to import, I need to import. Where is the import here? You can import entire schemas data also into a table, right? Everything is small. Look here, this is the one, right? Scoop, import. And what you need, just you have an option called connect. Using the JDBC driver, you connect to the MySQL database. The MySQL also, you have multiple databases. In which database the table patient is residing in. You need to tell which server, and the server which database you stored which table, and username, password you need to specify it. See, just one line or maximum 2 line script you need command you need to write it. That's all, right? This is very simple one. But even though you execute this command, or 1-liner command or 2-liner command, right, behind the scene what happens, Hadoop system, it creates the MR program in Java. On your behalf, the Java, right, the MR program is generated. All you are doing, you might be surprising, I just use this command. I did not write MapReduce program, but when I executed this, on your behalf, the system itself generates MR program, right? So the MR, since it is generating the MR program to extract the data from MySQL and store it in a Hadoop file system, right? It takes a lot of time. Right? Even if the table has 10 records, 20 records, right? It takes a lot of time to import the data. Okay. Behind the scene, Scoop also generates the MR program. It writes the MR program on your behalf because you don't know Java, right? So it is helping you to write the program. And the next one is the other ecosystem component like Hive. Even in the case of Hive, you write the SQL queries only. But behind the scene, when you execute the SQL query, when you fire the query against the Hadoop Hive system, right, Hive data warehouse system, behind the scene it generates MR job. Even in the case of Pig, when you fire this, behind the scene it generates MR job. Right? So these ecosystem components are tightly coupled with the MR program. That is the reason why many of them found some kind of many of them found a limitation because of this. Okay, found inconvenience with Hadoop version 1. That is the reason why they made some improvement to the version 2 to overcome these limitations, right? They came up with some Yarn and the thing. Using Yarn architecture, you can use non-MR programs. See, a Scoop is MR only, right? Even Hive is also MR, and even Pig is also MR. Okay, right? So behind the scene, that is what is happening. Okay, so now let's try to understand the architecture of Scoop quickly. This is what the Scoop architecture. Look here. Let's say you saw the command, right? Scoop -connect -connect the JDBC driver and the table name, everything, right? That is the command. This is from the client system. You are submitting a Scoop. You are executing a Scoop command. What happens is the Scoop, right, behind the scene, it is pulling the metadata from the RDBMS. Your RDBMS can be MySQL, it can be Oracle, it can be PostgreSQL, SQL Server, right? And also you can, if you go to the Scoop website, right, you will find which all RDBMS it supports. Okay, so the Scoop, it pulls the metadata from, let's say you store the data in MySQL. Okay, the employee table, the employee table related metadata, it pulls it, and then what it does is it launches the MapReduce job, right? The the map jobs, it goes back to the RDBMS and it fetches the data and it stores the data in the data sink. The data sink can be, the output data can be, the target data can be stored either in Hadoop file system or in Hive data warehouse system, or in the case of HBase. HBase is also NoSQL database. You can store it there also. The output can be stored in HDFS, Hive or HBase also. Right? This is a very simple architecture, right? So the Scoop, what is the metadata? Supposing you want to import the employee table from MySQL to HDFS file system. So behind the scene, what happens is it pulls the table related metadata. What is the table name? In which database the table is there? What are the columns are there? How many column names, table name, and the database name? All the information, it takes it, and then what happens? It sends it to MapReduce. In the case of MapReduce, right, the job will talk to the name node and get the address location where the what it does is, since it received the in this case the MapReduce received the metadata from the RDBMS, and then what it does, it spawns the map jobs, and then it passes these map jobs to the RDBMS to fetch the data from your employee table. Now the question is, okay, after getting the metadata, it spawns the map job, and here in this case we can see 3 map, right? And then these 3 map jobs will run against a single table to pull the data from this database and write the output to any one of these targets based on the target which you mentioned it there. Okay, that is how it does. So how, why 3 map jobs are starting, right? So parallel processing. If you try to pull the data, let's say the table has 10 million records in it, right? Or let's say the table has 9 million records. If you use simple map job, right, only one map job has to read 9 million records and then push the output to HDFS. If you have more map jobs, what will happen? Supposing 9 million, right, you have 3 map jobs. Each map job will pull 3 million records and then push the output to the target, so that the extracting the data from the file, if you do it in parallel, the ETL load time will be very less. You are reducing the load cycle time here. That is the whole idea of it. Hope you understood, right? But in this case of version 1, right, in this right, you can use only map, it can spawn only the map job. Reduce is not possible. Okay, only map job, it produces the output in this one. So now the next question is how to determine how many number of map jobs are required. See, in the case of blocks, if the data are stored in the file system, especially in the slave system, per block, one map job will get created, right? So if I have, in this case, the data is not on the block, it is stored in the RDBMS. How does the MapReduce programming paradigm determines how many number of map processes are required? What it does is, let's say you have an employee table. In the employee table, employee ID is a column. You define that employee ID column as a primary key column. Okay. So since it is a primary column, what will happen is it automatically generates a query. Select it first take the minimum and maximum value, right? It fires a query against the RDBMS table and checks the minimum value of the employee ID, maximum value of the employee ID. And then what it does is, supposing, right, it starts from 1 to 10,000, right? 10,000 employees are there. What it does is 3, if you write, it will decide, okay, so to do this, in what will generate 3 map jobs. You can also configure it, how many number of map jobs are required. You can also specify it, okay, explicitly. -m option is there, you can specify it. But if you don't have the primary key columns, let's say you have a primary key column, let's go one by one. In scenario 1, in the employee table, I have a primary key column. It first checks the minimum value of the ID and maximum value of the ID. So between the right, once it gets the minimum maximum ID, right, it will try to find out how many map jobs to be run, right? It splits the data. Let's first roughly speaking 1 to, let's say 9,000 records are there, right? 9,000 divided by 3. So what we will do is, between 1 to 3,000 you fetch the data, and 3,001 to 6,000 you fetch the data, and 6,001 to 9,000 you fetch the data. That's how it splits it creates the mapper job and fetch the data in parallel. That is how the parallelism is achieved. Who is that? Someone joined and he logged off. He did not mention his name also. I don't know, who is he? Is this Arun? Right, that is how it is working. Okay, so that is how parallelism. Supposing I don't have the primary key on a table, right? So you need to tell explicitly which column is supposed to be used. Split by, you have something like split by option. There you can specify the column name, and then you can specify the specify the column name, and then you can specify, since the non-primary key column, right, you can specify the column name, and then how many number of map jobs that needs to be kicked off, right? You can also you have an option to specify the number of maps, how many number of maps we also can specify it. Okay, so that's it. That's pretty much about the Scoop architecture. The rest of them are very simple one, right? In the Scoop comes with 2 classes of connectors. One is common connector, fast connector. The common connector for regular reads and writes, okay, and fast connector uses database proprietary batch mechanism for efficient imports. If you use fast connector, it will be much faster. But right, so all you need is just JDBC, the driver. If you specify, it automatically takes it. You don't have to worry about this. And then the file formats, delimited text and sequence files. Yeah, you can import the sequence file as an sequence file in the output, right? You can specify the output format also. Okay, this is how you can install the scope. But in the case of Hortonworks, we don't have that headache. We don't have to unzip, we don't have to download, we don't have to unzip, we don't have to configure it. That headache is not there. And you can, if you want to check the help, right, scoop and help, if you type scoop help, you will get the help in the command prompt. Supposing you go to this one, right, and if you type scoop and help and press enter, it takes some time. It displays the help, right, what all the options are available with scoop, what import, export, everything it will show. If you don't know the syntax, you can go and refer it in case you make syntax, but again, end of the day, right, you can rely on Google also. Okay, code generate code to interact with database. Okay, I don't want to generate the data, I want to generate the code, right, generate the code alone, right? So you can use code gen, using which you can generate it. Create Hive table, import a table definition into Hive. We can take the employee table from this one, and but as you saw, right, in version 2 of a scope, you need to import the file MySQL table into Hadoop file system, and then you need to export it back to Hive system. That's how you can do it. And this is the syntax, MySQL, sorry, the MySQL, right? You know how to connect to MySQL, right? So just connect. See here I put all the commands. What you do, right, you copy paste in a script, and then you can fire it against your database. So in our case, right, I'll just show you here. See, it takes a lot of time. Let me do one thing. Use Control Z in Linux, right? You can use Control Z, but don't use too many Control Z. Control Z, okay? Control Z. If you use Control Z, it doesn't mean the job got killed. Still, the job will be running at the background. You can use this command to check whether the previous job is still running. Grep and scoop. If you give this one, it will show you. Look here. And grep, this is the one which we executed it now, and scoop help, see this, still it is going on the background. This is what we executed, right? So what you do is, in this case, you just do kill -9, kill this job. So this is my job ID 10740, okay, 10740, so that your system will not take too much of resources. It's something like you're running multiple jobs behind the scene, because of which, right, it will require a lot of memory and CPU. This is how you can use it optimally, okay? But anyhow, you don't have to worry about all these things, okay? In the interview, they will not ask all that, but in the real-time point of it is helpful. Yeah, MySQL. Now I'll connect to MySQL -u root and -p, but the default password is Hortonworks1. If you give like this, it will connect to MySQL, okay? MySQL, and here what you do is you can refer the syntax here. Create table. This is a simple table. Create, or first what you do is show databases. By default, what are the databases are there? These are the databases, right? While installing the MySQL, already they these are the system databases. You don't have to, you are not supposed to disturb this one. Create a new database. How do you create a new database? Create database. You know command called create database. Create something like like something like health, right, HC, healthcare, simple database name, okay. Now you created a database, right? Use HC. Now you need to open the database, HC. This command will open the database, because you have a lot of database are there. In which database you wanted to work on it, right? You need to get into that new database which you created it. Using this command, you can go to this database. Now you are inside this database, and now you can create the table, whichever table. For example, create table, normals command, create table, something like customer, ID. Listen, customer ID is int of 10, and here where car is there. Good. So here customer name varchar of 20, and you know the this one, the customer name, amount spent, right? Amount is spent, amount spent. And here also I'm going to say I don't know the int, right? So we'll say int of 10. Some data, okay. Now what we will do is select star from customer. So we have 2 records are there, and let me see, count of star is there. You can help me out since you are working on MySQL, right? You can help me out. Okay, so now what I do is alter table. I think alter table customer primary key is ID. Will it work? You have an error in check the primary key of ID, right? So how do you create the primary key? Any idea? Prakash, let me just check here. One second. During the time of creation itself, right? If you create the primary key, it is good. Look here they mention, right? But alter table, right? Alter table and primary key. That's what an alter table name. Primary space key. Okay, but primary space key only I get. But I need not to give the parenthesis. It's right. Let me just check. Primary key ID. Okay, check manual that corresponds to error. What is this here? What the hell is this? He did not give. Okay, table add constraint primary key. It's correct only, right? Alter table. Only thing is constraint primary key.
Satya?
I'm
wrong here.
Yes, tell me, sir.
Add constraint name.
Oh, that is mandatory, right? Okay, constraint is pico underscore ID and primary key of ID, right? Okay, but this is mandatory, right? The okay.
I'm saying the constraint is mandatory.
Oh, okay, good. Yeah, thanks. It is working now, right? So next, what we will do is we'll try to insert some more data here. Something like that. Okay, here what we will do is now we'll check how many number records are there. 3 records are there, and select star from just for our confirmation, right? We'll just check these are the things are there, right? And next one, what we are doing is grant all on what is the current schema name? The schema name is the database name is HC, right? HC dot star 2. What I'm going to do is I'm going to give it a root, right? Root at localhost with the grant option So I'm giving all the privacy, because when you see Scoop is outside of this MySQL database, right? To allow this Scoop to take the data right from this database, we need to give some privilege, right? You need to give access privilege. With this we are done. And flush privileges, this one will be returned to the disk. Fine, we are done. Next, exit. The next what we are trying to do is we will look at this syntax Scoop, and the eval option is available, right? Using eval, what you can do is whether you are able to access the MySQL database successfully or not, right? Using which you can check it. You don't have to import the data or export the data. Just I want to check whether Scoop is able to connect to my database MySQL, right? And it is able to query the data, right? We'll start this one Scoop, and what we'll do is eval. I don't know, in this in the latest version this one is available. Connect JDBC MySQL colon here 192.168.204.132 colon that's all right, yeah. And then test the server name, and the database name is HC Healthcare, and the username, you need to specify the username as root. Yeah, so if you don't have space there, right, use this slash, okay, to continue in the next line, okay. Username root, and then hyphen password. Password is HortonWorks1, right? HortonWorks1, and then what I'm going to do is hyphen query. Select star from what is the table name? Customer. This is not required, I think so. Come on, this is not required. Just we'll see what happens. So this is what the JDBC driver, okay. JDBC driver is my, you need to specify JDBC driver connection, MySQL, and the server name, and also we specify the port number, but in this case it doesn't require, it seems, okay. And then the database, in which server, which database, right? And on this server, MySQL database, we have something called HC database is there. In this database, select this, select the value from customer. For this, the username, password, everything you need to give. But in real-time scenario, never ever give the password like this, okay. You're not supposed to specify the password here. You need to hide it, you need to store it in a file, and then from there you need to fetch it, okay. But for learning purpose, this is more than sufficient. You can give it, it's not a problem. Please wait for some time. See what happens behind the scene, right? To selecting the query also, yes, it will generate the MapReduce. Let's wait for some time. If it is generating MapReduce, you can see yesterday we saw, right, the MapReduce job, right, it got kicked off behind the scene. It will kick off the job behind the scene. Am I audible now? Is it audible? Now it is audible, right? Yeah, good. Okay. Since it was running for a longer time, right? I just put it in pause. My speaker, I put it in.
Use this banner stack. Can I use this banner stack?
It's going on. Let's wait for some time. And we'll see. I think I have to specify the port number. Don't need this one also. So even Python is available here. Okay, Python is available on top of the HTTP. Authon works. Okay, and that is one advantage. Not able to access that one. No, the same error we are getting it. Import failed. No columns to generate for class writer. 1 second. What happens here? Here setting your personal comment. Okay, that is fine. And error execution statement. Exception. Communication exception. Communication link failure. JDBC4. Okay, the last packet sent successfully to the server 0 million. I think some communication problem. Okay, see what we will do is, can you all please re-log in once again, because I think the recording thing is we got stuck here, whether it's hanging or not, right? So let me probably if we can re-log in, that will be good. I'm going to close the unnecessary things also. But it shows 0.001. That means it's not recording. 0.001, right? Can you all please re-log in? Okay, I'm going to close the session. Okay, can you please re-log in once again? I think the system can clear up some memory, and we'll see what happens.